Commentary Games, podcast where we bring you the latest in gaming news, indie reviews, and everything else under the sun. My name is Kendall, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tony, aka Broke at the Book Fair.
I relate. I relate to that one.
I
That hit
told you.
my heart.
I told you.
That was a man. I've been there. You know what
I
I mean?
told you
Like,
that one was gonna bring back some bad memories.
yo, shout out to you. You did say that, and shout out to the book fair. I'm not gonna lie because I've never seen kids more excited to read. Like we were gassed
Dog,
up about buying books.
ready. And when they started having a catalog to go with it,
Man, yeah.
it was a wrap.
It was that in the Christmas catalog. You know what I mean? We getting to
Yep.
that time of year. So,
That the Christmas catalog and the East Bays.
oh my
Rest
God,
in
man,
peace to
don't
East Bay.
man. East Bay used to be my shit. Let me look at this. I won't buy. Oh man, I wish I
Right.
could buy that.
All
Like
up in the Jersey section, just crossing shit out that I wanted.
ridiculous. It was good times, man. Y'all don't know. I guess it went from like East Bay and stuff like that to like the websites like the Karma Loops and all the stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know the joy of just cracking open a magazine and flipping through the pages, and you know what I mean. Nostalgia aside,
Yeah.
there's a few. It's a few things that we getting closer to. Holiday season is one of them. That was that time of year, and also Game Awards. We talked about it last year. Kind of went through some of our thoughts on the snubs of Game Awards, but we wanted to take an episode where we kind of went through, first of all, some of the Game of the Years of the past. We talked about this last week also, kind of pitched the idea, kind of just evaluating Game of the Year choices that have happened in the past. And then we also want to take part of the episode to talk about some predictions that we think might happen at the award show. So we're going to make sure that we kind of fit both of those in. But I know we got some stuff to talk about when it comes to these past Game of the Year choices. Like it seemed like a good concept for an episode, but looking at some of these games, it's like, yeah.
Man.
So, do you want to start at the bottom of the list or the top? Because I feel like, well,
Let's start at 2014 and come up.
okay, cool, yeah. So, matter of fact, I think I started with 2015. So, what was 2014's game of the year?
All right. So 2014's game of the year was Dragon Age Inquisition.
Ah, yes, you know what I did have that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And the runners up were Bayonetta 2, Dark Souls 2, Hearthstone, which I'm very surprised is on there, and Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. I'm not surprised Hearthstone is on there because I think it's bad. It's really like fucking addictive. I don't know if you've played it,
Yeah,
but
nah,
it's
yeah. That's
yeah,
one of those card
man.
games that just hits like that. But
Um,
that
I
was
don't
a
know how I
weird
feel
year.
about that one.
That was a weird year. So what immediately jumps out to you? Because I know Bayonetta 2, that was an infamous 10 out of 10 IGN game and all that. But what jumps out immediately to you?
Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's a game that is underrated in the sense that people don't talk about its gameplay. They talk about the Nemesis system.
Yeah. That's
Like
what I'm talking
they
about.
talk about the Nemesis system and the fact that Warner Brothers patented it, so nobody can use it, and they barely use it.
Yep. That is all I talk about when it comes to those
That's
games.
kind of what the conversation, but the actual game itself, like when you're talking about a Lord of the Rings game just being flat out dope,
Hmm.
it it ain't like there's Shadow of War, the two movie tie-in games, Two
Right.
Towers and Return of the King that EA absolutely nailed, which I was very surprised by.
Somehow.
Um, the RPG The Third Age, which was
Mm.
actually really good. It was insanely easy, but it was really, really good. And Battle for Middle Earth 2 on PC. That's it. Those are the ones.
And for such a story franchise, that's not that many. So yeah.
Man.
Shadow of Mordor, that kind of was like the Jedi Fallen Order of Lord of the Rings
Yep.
games.
Perfect comparison.
Yeah, and I get that. Like the way that I feel about Jedi Fallen Order, I definitely can see how you could feel that way about Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War. That game definitely became, for me, I'm not gonna lie, it became like a sort of like that GTA problem where you boot it up just to do stuff. Like I was just running through,
Yeah.
fucking up encampments, watching the Nemesis system, getting killed. But with that being said, you're right about the gameplay. Like it was so much fun to just run in there and fight some shit, like just to do something in that game. That I mean, it's timeless in the same way that the same way that I feel like an Arkham game might be underrated in this aspect. You don't hear those games talked about in Game of the Years often.
The combat
So
system was basically the same.
yeah, right, and it was just as much fun to just kind of run around and do your thing. So
Yeah.
okay, I'm not mad at that one.
That would have been my pick that year. Um,
I
Like
will
I
probably
mean, I like Inquisition, but Middle Earth would have been my pick that year.
Yeah, Inquisition was the one that kind of got me into Dragon Age, so I'm probably somewhat biased. Like I really love that game, so I would have probably leaned toward Inquisition. Yeah, and then Shadow of Mordor, it did kind of feel to. I wasn't as into Lord of the Rings, admittedly. Like that wasn't my bag at the time. So
Oh,
and it
yeah,
kind of
that's my shit.
yeah, it's kind of just now starting to open up to me where I'm not gonna lie, Rings of Power got me like looking into everything now, like because that show is pretty amazing. But I know that show is very different and probably somewhat divisive among people that like Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings. So
yeah. No,
so yeah.
if you were a Tolkien head, that ain't really the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, but I will say this, it made
But
me
it is
interested.
good.
Yeah,
If you separate it from like the Lord of the Rings of it all, it's actually it's solid. But as
right.
far as like how it connects to, it's kind of yeah.
I feel that. It reminds me of I feel like Watchmen had a better run of it, but kind of has that same like, oh, it's tied to it in ways that some people might not agree with or appreciate. And others might enjoy it. I'm enjoying it for just like a base level, like, hey, this is something cool. That's a spinoff of what the Lord of the Rings is, and it makes me go back
Yeah.
and watch the movies. You know what I mean? So that's I've seen people straight up say, nah, this ain't gonna make people watch, watch anything Lord of the Rings because this is not Lord of the Rings. But it made me go check it out, and so
Yeah,
did
like I'm due for my rewatch, so
yeah, yeah.
I got all three in front of me. So at some point before the end of the year, I got to watch all three.
And I might have to join you on that because I'm newly interested, and that's similar to what happened with Shadow of Mordor. So I ain't gonna fault you on that pick. But I know for 2015, the actual choice was The Witcher 3. What were the counter choices on 2015? Because since you got the list of.
All right, this one you might have a switch on this one. So
Hmm.
Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, Super Mario Maker, which wow,
Yeah.
and Bloodborne.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Oh man.
I'm inclined to agree with the winner.
You know what, man?
I I did like Bloodborne, but I'm inclined to agree with that one.
As much as I love Bloodborne, The Witcher through that's tough, man. Like Bloodborne is timeless, and you got shit like Lies of P coming out that's pretty much like it shows you that they created an
It's
archetype for
Bloodborne too.
games. Right,
It's
right. Like
basically Bloodborne too.
yeah, get you your fix if you know if you want that type of gameplay, you don't see them coming out with a sequel. So man, that's tough because The Witcher 3 really was like an archetype like of RPGs. And I'm not mad at either choice. That's one of those where I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not even going like sports media this conversation and pretend like I got a strong opinion on one or the other. Like I really feel like either one is a fair choice, but damn, it would have been nice. But the thing about that is, I feel like at the time we've talked about this before. Souls games get some type of flack for being what they were, even among media, especially at the time. Nobody's
Right.
going to talk about this anymore, but they would kind of just dismiss Souls games as like
They
the try hard. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
was about to, they gonna act like they didn't do it. That's the problem.
right,
They're gonna act like they
right.
didn't do it.
We all gonna remember, but it's one of those things where retroactively we see that these games were about more than just kind of like forcing your hand. So I think Bloodborne would have been a great like that was such a different Souls type game. That was not a Dark Souls or Demon Souls type of vibe. It had a whole different experience, whole different lore. The lore was incredible. That it gets really weird because it goes from I won't even call these spoilers, but like just to kind of delve into it a little bit, it goes from like that werewolf, that type of vibe, like where it's blood arts and things like that, to Cthulhuism and shit like that Lovecraftian horror. Like it really delves deep into mental shit and like, you start I will give a light spoiler. You get like your insight up. There's a meter called insight, which is like your sight beyond sight, like what you can see, how deeply you can see into what's making up the world. And you start seeing shit around the world that was always there that you could never see. Some of which could actually fuck you up before you could see it. Like big ass monsters that's just kind of sitting on the sides of walls and shit like that. And like if you go to the wrong spot, you'll get grabbed up. And you never understood why until you got your insight up. And now you can see this shit literally. Like it's crazy.
All right, so this might be the only year that I do this for because I was looking at the list before we got into it. 2015
Mm-hmm.
is the only year I'm going to do this for, but Super Mario Maker should not have been on that fucking list in the same year that Ori and the Blind Forest came out.
Yeah, Yeah, because yeah, again, I didn't really delve into things that didn't get nominated that much either. But man, I think
That's the because I looked at all of them, but that was the only one where I was like, really,
yeah, looking
Ori and the
back
Blind Forest, Rocket League, like those could have made it over Super Mario Maker.
now, Super Mario Maker is a pretty great game. Like I respect what
It's
Super Mario
dope,
Maker
but
is. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not putting that over Ori and the Blind Forest. But
We
it is what
we
it is. It's been
we
8 years.
see we see Ori for what it is now. Like we understand what that game was doing. It was before they really appreciated indie games for what they were. And I'm glad to see that that's kind of changed to some degree because you're right. That should have made it. We got an interesting one coming up though. I know that.
Oh, I'm mad at this one. I'm mad.
Okay,
I'm
we're
mad at
gonna
this one.
we'll talk. We'll talk. All right, it's 2016. You want to do the honors? I don't have all the shit pulled up. I just got my choices and shit.
Winner, Overwatch. Runners up, Doom, Inside, Titanfall 2, Uncharted 4.
It's crazy because we've hit our first year where, first of all, any of those could have won in my eyes. Anything on our list, with the one that won being at the bottom of the list to me. Like, I mean, but
Titanfall 2 was the game of the year that year.
that was it. But you know what I think the difference is? And here's what I'll say. First of all, don't get me wrong. When I say that statement, it makes it sound like I don't like Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 is or excuse me, Overwatch
I'm
1.
about to say
I
that
don't
point.
like I don't play Overwatch too much anymore or at all anymore, really. But Overwatch 1 was my multiplayer game. Like that's the game that really had me. But I don't play multiplayer much. My friends hate me because I'm on Party Up with them. Ask Tony. Like, I hate my ass because I just it's because when I jump in, man, I'm gonna want to jump out in like 15 minutes, and I don't want to push out through that shit. You know what I mean? But my attention span just ain't long enough. But I do
That's
enjoy
because
the
you ain't
game
got
though.
in with niggas. You get in with niggas, that'll change.
I believe it. Like I've had those moments, like where we just kind of playing and shit. But I really love Overwatch for everything that it is. Like the potential was crazy. The things that they put into that game, that the balancing, the changes that they made, the love and care to the characters, the little cutscenes that they made, incredible experience, especially for like that first like 4 years or so.
Right.
Really, really like a revolutionary multiplayer game. One of those games that had people trying to ape the formula and failing. So got to give
Failing
it its
horribly
credit.
too. That one,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
the copycat hero shooters that came out after that.
Rest in peace to Paladins. You know what I mean? But
Dog. Paladins
but
wasn't even bad. It just
it
wasn't.
wasn't.
It wasn't
I'm
that.
I'm being sincere. Rest in peace to Paladins.
Yeah.
I like Paladins, but I feel like the problem with Overwatch now is that we can see that the potential petered out. Like it didn't hit the peaks that we thought it was going to. What felt like the beta version of a bigger
It
idea.
peaked in high school.
Right. You know what I mean? Like it felt like that's so accurate actually. Like if that was his adolescence, it's never gotten past that. It just started getting really good at the shit it was doing in its adolescence. Like
Yeah.
you were finding the same game that we've been playing for like 6, 7 years, however many years it's been. So that's what makes it tough, man. That's what makes it tough. And I will say Titanfall 2, the problem there is I feel like audience retention. You know what I mean? Like it didn't have the impact that it should have. I love Titanfall 2, and you know me, like I said, more single player for me.
Yes.
So that story mode,
That
incredible.
that story, that's one of the best first person shooters, like single player first person shooters in the last probably 15 years.
If not ever, like straight up, really incredible game. And it's tough that it didn't hit the market at the right time. I feel like because you see what happened with Apex. That's the same, team from what I
Same world.
understand, same
Yeah.
world. So Titanfall 2 is the heartbreaker. That's the one that we all
That
kind of feel when
yeah.
we
That
when we talk about it.
I felt like that then, honestly. And I played the shit out of Overwatch because I mean, me and Jerz got our own story behind that. But
Hmm.
yeah, nah, it was
Yeah.
you know,
And it's funny, man. I feel like Uncharted 4 doesn't really get the respect that it deserves it's because of The Last of Us, first of all, because that was their premier marquee. We take this a little more seriously franchise, and it kind of came out on the heels of Uncharted 3, which was still a little bit more campy and like Indiana Jones vibey. But Uncharted 4 was definitely like the Rocky Balboa of the series. Like it was the one that kind
I'm
of
gonna keep it a buck.
Mm,
I prefer Uncharted 4 The Last of Us.
interesting. I mean, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you now.
I prefer The Last of Us because Last of Us is about story.
Hmm.
Like the Last of Us franchise isn't really a gameplay franchise. That's meant to be a movie,
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
interactive movie.
The gameplay is amazing, don't get, especially
No,
two.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
Two and
yeah.
two like improved it like leaps and bounds.
Right.
But Uncharted 4, just like as a game, it's a better game.
I don't know if I'm gonna say it's a better. I respect the choice. I don't know if I'm gonna say it's a better. Well, I mean, then The Last of Us, it came out after The Last of Us, so probably is like I would have to go back and really look at them from an outside perspective. But I feel like Last of Us is just such an incredible experience that holds up. It's held back by the limitations of its time more so than its gameplay faults in my eyes. Whereas Uncharted 4, I love Uncharted 4. It did amazing things. I don't think it was as big a step as Last of Us, but I started this to defend fucking Uncharted 4.
It's also the fourth game.
Right,
It's also the
right,
it doesn't have to be
exactly.
that step.
And with this type of perspective that I have, even like you can see kind of how people undermine the greatness of Uncharted 4 because that's a really special game, man. Like they really wrapped up a pretty dope story that
Yeah.
I didn't really expect an Uncharted 4 for whatever
Nigga, you
reason. Like
could play Crash Bandicoot in the game.
this shit's amazing. You know what I mean? Like the end of that game, won't spoil anything else about the end of that game, but the things that they did show you that was like a premiere. That feels like how Spider-Man 2 feels. Like shit like that makes it
Yeah.
feel like this is a top tier game that like it's an experience. Like you remember when we played that game? Like I encourage people to go back and play that again and just remember how amazing of an experience it was. Because Uncharted needs to get more love. All right. So
2017.
yeah, yeah,
Winner, Breath of the Wild.
yeah.
Runners up, Horizon Dawn, Zero Dawn, Persona 5, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and Super Mario Odyssey. I have no issues with this one at all.
It's hard to. My only issues would be so Mario Odyssey. Let's start there. Mario Odyssey is another Nintendo classic. It might not ever really. I mean, we love.
You know
Mario
they dropped
Odyssey.
the price on that motherfucker, so if you want to get it, you need to get this motherfucker now.
That
It
might
ain't
that's
60.
rare. That's
It's
rare.
like 40. I think it's like $38, $40.
Might have to
Go jump on it.
Hopefully that's not over by the time I hear this episode.
Right.
But yeah, that's rare. But nah, that's really one of those games that's still worth buying. You know what I mean? Like that game holds it's so much to do in that game, so incredible. Like the wonder of it all, no pun intended, is really wild. And then I want to give a shout out to Persona 5 because again, took a franchise and just sent it to the moon for real. Like that was the one that broke people into Persona, even though it had its fan base. People are quick to tell you that game is a 10 out of 10. So shout out Persona 5. But Breath of the Wild.
It was Breath of the
Wild. Yeah. I was not. I really didn't play those other games for a while because of Breath of the Wild. Like so, yeah, it's like that. We can move on.
Yeah. 2018, God of War, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Wow, good for them. Celeste, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
All right. Well, I mean, I want to.
I mean, you got something on this? That's yeah.
Again, I want to give a shout out to games that I don't think should have taken it over God of War 2018. But Celeste is an incredible game. It deserves to be on this list. Red Dead Redemption, obviously, we don't have to say too much about what makes that game amazing. Like Red Dead is a game of the year. Yeah, it's game of the year by a landslide any other year. But God of War.
You know how fire Red Dead Redemption is. My nigga analyst, he was in the Discord talking about how hard of a time he was having getting into it because of how slow it starts, and then he had restarted it I think like 4 or 5 times, and then he gave it another shot like I want to say about 2 weeks ago. Man, he been blowing the Discord up as we're recording this because he been playing that shit. And he finally got into it.
Yeah, that shit happened to me, man. Like
nigga, we 5 years out, niggas are still like discovering like, nah, this was it.
Facts. And honestly, man, like I don't think I've had my blow the doors open. I'm fucking standing up till 3 a.m. moment with that game still. And I'm the same way. Like I'm gonna have the same, but I did have my okay, I'm picking this up every day moment where I'm like, this game is incredible. This is a 10 out of 10. It just became it's a lot of game, man. Like that shit is a lot of game.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
that's honestly that hits me with a lot of Rockstar games for whatever reason. You know, it's the style of gameplay that they put together and the mission structure, I guess, kind of just makes me kind of like move on for whatever reason, which sucks. But I recognize greatness when I see it. And Red Dead Redemption is an all timer for sure. Like we might not ever get another game quite like that.
There's something to be said about developers that have like a style.
Yeah.
And it's off-putting to some. Like I get like the Rockstar stuff and Bethesda. Like that's what made me think of Rockstar and Bethesda are like the two
Hmm.
where it's like they're like the Spurs and the Patriots. Like you know what the fuck you're gonna get because the same coach has been there for 25 years.
Right. They
You
got a
know what it is.
they got a vision for what this is supposed to be. I would throw
Yeah.
in Platinum Games is in there and Kojima also. Kojima Productions, I guess you could say now, because if you want to
I mean,
give
but
him
Kojima's only like it's just, he's weird. Like
yeah,
that's his thing. His
but
gameplay, he'll change the gameplay up a little bit.
yeah, but the weird is a very specific brand of weird. If you
I mean, yeah, there's babies in a sack and shit like that. Yeah.
it's like one of those things where you ever watch an anime where you're like, this is completely out of left field bonkers, but by the end, I will understand why. Like,
Akira.
there's, yeah, exactly. Like you get an explanation when you bring it all together. That's what makes it incredible, and he's really good at that shit. You know, so
All right, 2019 is gonna be interesting.
yes, it is. But I'm not mad at it.
Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, one game of the year.
Yep.
I think you have said this before that this game was your game of the year. Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2 remake, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds, really? I did not know
Man,
that was nominated.
me neither. Actually, shout out to Outer Worlds. I mean, people really love that game. It wasn't the one that drew me. Um, yeah, man. Like Control hit me hard that year, but I would not argue against another one of those years where Control and Sekiro both have like a spot in my heart. You know what I mean? Like those are 10 out of 10s. But I'm gonna say Control was my game of the year for that year. As much as I love Souls like games, Control felt like um I don't even know what to compare Control to. Like Control felt like its
Nothing.
own thing. Like yeah, like it was such a unique experience that I have to put it up. And Sekiro, there's not been another FromSoft game that feels anything like Sekiro in a similar way to Bloodborne, but even more so because Bloodborne had some of the makings of Dark Souls, and Sekiro had some of that pacing. But talk about it all the time, it was originally a Tenchu game. Like that's an action game.
That's a different type of
Yeah,
feel.
yeah, that's competing with Ghost of Tsushima, if anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So shout out to Sekiro. I think it deserves it, and I'm glad that that was a statement win to where it's like, hey, pay attention to FromSoft. This is a masterpiece, bro. Like straight up.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that pick.
Yeah,
All right, so we got two more because we're gonna skip 2022 because the conversation has been had on 2022
yeah,
like over and over again, and it's fairly recent.
100%.
2020, The Last of Us Part Two. Yeah, Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades. Actually, you know what?
Yeah, that last three, man. That whole last three.
Yeah, I,
Ah,
I'm taking Hades.
man, man, and
I'm taking Hades over Last of Us Part Two, and it's only because as much as I love that game, it's a heavy ass experience. Like it's not a game that has real replay value. Like you got to be in the mood to run that back.
Hades.
No. Last of Us.
Oh, okay, okay. I
No,
was
no, no,
like,
no,
what?
no.
Okay,
Yeah, Last of Us Part Two. You got to be in the mood to run that
yeah,
back.
nah,
That's a
that's
heavy
facts.
ass game.
100%.
And my one complaint with it, which is why I still think that the original is superior, is that Last of Us Part Two went on way too long.
Yes, it did. It
It
did.
just went on way too long. But as far as like a top to bottom gaming experience, I think Hades is like it's one, and then Ghost of Tsushima two. Because
Yeah,
Hades did something with the roguelike genre that people still trying to catch up to.
that's facts. Hades is we've already talked at length about Hades and how much we're looking forward to Hades 2 and how I bought my Switch that I currently have to play Hades. Like I bought it because I saw the trailer for that game and I was like, I want that shit right now. And with that being said, I'm really excited. No, first of all, let me get my little shot. I like to get my shout outs out the way. So The Last of Us Part 2, for all of its divisiveness, there's faults that you can find in everything.
Yeah,
one of the greatest games ever made. Like, don't
that's a
get
fact.
me that joint is like up there with like one of the best experiences that you can have in a game. And I'm paying that $10 and I'm upgrading to see what the lost levels looking
Yes.
like.
Yep.
That that
They got
remake
my 10.
sounds that remaster
If it
sounds
was
pretty dope.
no, if it was anything more than 10 out, they was gonna have to wait on me. But
Yeah,
10,
yeah.
10 for that? Nah, I can do
I'll
that.
take it. If you haven't heard, just because this is a podcast, we need to be informative. The Last of Us Part 2 is actually getting remastered for PS5. $10 to upgrade if you had the original version. It has lost levels, it has director commentary, and it has a roguelike mode, which is like a survivor mode, which is interesting. So
With different characters.
yeah,
Like it's
so
not just yeah.
with that being said, I'm gonna tell you this. That might change the replay value of that game. Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, that's
No,
so that's
that'll
interesting.
definitely change it because you ain't got to go through that story again. Like I
Right.
would play through the story just to do the Rat King again
Yeah,
because
that's just
I don't think there's a better atmosphere in a game than like Ground Zero of the Cordyceps outbreak in that
yeah,
hospital. Like that whole section, man, you
crazy.
felt it,
Felt the tension. I've never felt tension better than that game. Straight up, like
dog.
I mean,
That's one of my favorite areas in the game ever.
yep, 100%. Man.
But I'm
I
still
might
taking
need to.
Hades.
I'm not mad at Hades, and I'm excited because I also want to shout out Ghost of Tsushima 2, also a fucking
Yep,
fantastic game. I get to finally
incredible.
talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I feel like I don't get to talk about this game enough, and it's like this game is something that I dreamt about as a child, and they made it, and it's fantastic. And I'm taking it over whatever. I already know like Rebirth is gonna be like it times 10, and it's gonna be kind of a Breath of the Wild situation or even a God of War. But God, man, what a the way that they drive you through the narrative. I've been that game twice and probably played through it like 3 times. The way they guide you through the narrative, the way they take the smallest aspects of the OG game and turn it into like real live parts of the experience for like this new modern version, the spins that they gave to the story, as again divisive as they might be, the boldness that it took to take those steps and like turn this into its own thing to where I'm now guessing about what's going to happen in part 2 and 3, which is
Which
crazy.
honestly, it had to go like that. First of all, if part two and part three were going to take this long to come out, then it had to be something that had you looking forward to it, and it wasn't just, oh, I know what the story is going to be. I just want to play the remake. Nah, they had to go a different direction, and I'm glad they did.
I don't even think it had to. I think it's smart. I think it's smart that it did, but I think I would have paid good money to watch everything I knew that was going
No,
to happen.
we
Like,
all would have, but it's a different level of anticipation when you don't know what
yeah,
the fuck's coming.
it took it to a new stratosphere. So that's one
Because if they
hundred
say that
percent.
motherfucker gonna be $90 when it drop, guess who gonna buy it? Every single one of us.
I would be so sick to my stomach. Like
You would be sick
that's
to your stomach, vomiting, putting your credit card number in the motherfucker.
yeah, saving up money for it. That's fucking true facts. Do not let them hear that shit. But I don't know, man. $90 is a lot of money. But that's an amazing game, and I feel like it. If again, Last of Us Part 2 wasn't such a moment that stopped the world, so it was the game of that year. But Final Fantasy VII Remake was my game of that year personally. So I'm taking that over that.
All right, last one, 2021. This was
Interesting.
interesting because I remember this. I do
Yeah.
remember when this
Oh,
happened.
we all remember this.
The winner, It Takes Two. Runners up, Deathloop,
Mhm.
Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Man, you want to talk about an 8 seed beating a one?
Yeah, really. And I respected the fuck out of it, honestly.
I get it. That game is dope.
Yeah.
There
But
is not a single game on that list I'm taking over Metroid Dread.
I was going, that's what's on my list. That's what I have written down.
There is not one.
I
And I
think,
love the OG Psychonauts. I was so excited for two.
yep.
I loved Ratchet and Clank. I put so much time into that shit. Resident Evil Village was dope. Deathloop is
Yeah.
fucking incredible. Shout out to
Mhm.
Jason.
Absolutely.
But
Chasing each other. Man.
nah, man, Metroid.
Yeah.
First of all, you gotta understand that from the standpoint of a hardcore Metroid fan, it was one thing to get a 2D Metroid, a brand new 2D Metroid
Yeah.
in like 3D. It's another thing for it to be Dread. because Dread has been a thing since Metroid Prime. When
Hmm.
they dropped that little lore tidbit in there, and then they was coming out like, "No, we don't know what y'all talking about." Dread has been a rumor for years,
Yeah, yeah.
years,
That moment
and
when they revealed the title of the game was
dog,
crazy.
dog.
Crazy.
That was because we had basically like felt like we was lied to because at that point because we like they told us that was just a we just threw that in there, that was just part of the dialogue, we don't know anything, but it
Right.
was still a rumor, it persisted throughout the years, and when that title popped up, I damn near threw my laptop through the wall.
Yes, like that feeling was palpable. Imagine, this is going to date me a little bit, but if you go back on gaming a little bit, imagine getting like a game like StarCraft Ghost. I don't know if you remember when they was
Mhm.
talking about making a shooter out of the StarCraft series, and it just evaporated. Like, oh yeah, that sounded too good to be true. Oh, and then they made it. Like that's what Metroid Dread was for the Metroid series. It was
Yeah,
you could have bet me so much money that we would never get another 2D Metroid in like in that style at least. Like
I thought we would get another 2D Metroid, but I didn't think it would be Dread,
in that,
because
yeah,
Dread
like
just
that
felt
type.
like it felt like Detox times 10. Like this was just never, ever gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, like the
And to not only have it happen, but for it to land and the
the
shit that they did with the story, nah, man,
the
that was the game of that year.
the feeling of dread when you go through that actual game, like just
Them
the
Emmys, nigga,
yeah, like honestly, I might have to boot that back up, man. You might have just
I just did
inspired
this
that.
weekend.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I might have to play that again because man, what a game! Yeah, that's got to be my choice for that. I mean, and I feel like there was two opportunities that year. They chose to give love to indies, and I'm not mad at that. But they could have gave some love to Metroid because Metroid does not get the love it deserves. Like that would have been a
At
great
all.
accolade. So
Not even from Nintendo. So
yeah,
no, we needed
yeah.
that one.
But it's such is life. I feel like the Game Awards is always full of surprises in such ways.
That was
Speaking of
one for sure.
surprises, yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was one of the bigger surprises. But we've had quite a few over the years, and I want to use that opportunity to transition into what we think might surprise us this year as far as like announcements go. There's always some trailers. This has become a little mini E3 for us, where we get a bunch of new stuff all of a sudden out of nowhere. And there's a few I think are pretty likely to show up this year. But I don't know if you want to go off first. I was going to go with the obvious one, which is GTA 6. Like it's
Yeah, I mean that ain't even a surprise. I mean it's a surprise from the standpoint of like, are we going to get the leaks confirmed, or
yeah.
are they going to, or were they going in a different direction anyway? And that was like what they threw out. You know,
My only debate as far as like getting it is if they'll drop it before that, just to like stand out on their own, because they are the type of company to just kind of put it out there outside of the Game Awards, just to have their own thing. But yeah, I mean, seeing GTA 6 and it's like the form that they plan to present it is going to be fascinating. Just based on, I feel like the leaks are accurate. Like I know that shit was real that I
yeah,
saw. I want that. Like I want that game, a heist
I
game with
want, yeah,
two characters. That sounds pretty incredible.
yeah,
Uh,
I want every bit of everything that they leaked to us. Like,
yeah,
dog, I'm 33. You ain't got to surprise me. Just drop the shit.
facts,
You know what I mean?
facts.
Like,
Just,
you
yeah,
ain't got to play.
give me a good experience. Like
Let's just drop draws and get to it. Like, you know.
yeah, we it's about that time. I feel you on that. I did not expect that one. I ain't gonna lie, but I do feel you. But no,
But
I feel like it's been long enough. Like we've been anticipating GTA 6 for the longest time. This game is
man,
the stuff of legend. It's 10 years into GTA 5, and who knows if they were ever going to stop. You know,
dog, look, the positive thing that came out of them just milking the living fuck out of GTA 5 was the Lord Balvin reaction video when they were doing the PS5 version. That's the only positive that came out of them milking the living shit out of this. That's it.
that was a moment. I would say that was absolutely a
One
moment.
of the greatest reaction videos ever.
Yeah, I mean, and it's positive on their side because that company is never going under. Like they're good
Never.
for life, from what
It's
I
sad.
understand. Listen, the games industry surprises me. They might lay off fucking 95% of their staff. Not gonna wood, hopefully not. No
Tomorrow.
disrespect, but like it gets like that. But yeah, I mean,
Well, they
I'm looking
shouldn't
forward.
be. Let's say that they
It
making the
should
type of money where they shouldn't be in that position.
exactly, exactly. And GTA 6 is just gonna continue that trend if anything makes sense in this world. So
Yeah.
We might see that. I got a couple that might be some nice little surprises if we actually see them show up. But did you have anything that you wanted to throw out there?
I I want to see a. It's the best way to put this would be a Miles Morales type of game for God of War.
Okay.
Give me something with, like, because I don't want a full sequel with Atreus. I just don't. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't want
I
that.
don't.
Oh,
I
give
don't.
me all my Kratos.
I have my. I don't know if I talked about this on air or if it was like a side conversation about what I would want from the next God of War.
No, we talked about her.
Okay. Yeah, with like, I think a side project with a trailer would be perfect. Or mild spoilers. If you ever play God of War, it's not spoiling what happened, but like characters that exist. We can see through. That would be interesting to see what happened with what's going on with her at the end of that game.
Yeah,
Um, she could be a character that's a part of a Trace's game. They have a lot that they can do. They've built up a nice little
like
universe. Even you
the
know,
thing with I think what makes that game more viable as a spinoff for Atreus is Sindri.
hmm
And I think
yeah,
because Sindri's beef is not necessarily with Kratos, it's with Atreus.
right, right, right.
So if
And
he's
so
the villain,
yeah,
I
yeah,
need that.
that could
I
go in
need
the
that.
end, and we're gonna keep that super light because I know that's like again light spoilers. So if you was pausing the spoilers, we're gonna stop that now. But that would be a fire to see how everything plays out. There's a lot of emotions left with those
Yeah, I
characters.
know. I need that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, my next one, I would really like to see what's up with Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Like, I think it's about
Yeah.
time for us to kind of get a glimpse of that. They showed a little teaser of the next Mass Effect, and by a teaser, I mean a 6 second video of a android-like character walking.
In an N7 uniform, though, that's important.
Yeah, and I was fucking blown away. I'm like, this is game of the year. I don't care what year it comes out. Like,
Yep.
that's give us a little drip feed shit like that. That's cool, but I would like to see an actual trailer to show me like this is something that's coming. It's coming to fruition. Like hopefully that game is kind of coming along at this point. I think it's time.
I think it would have to be to have dropped it because it wasn't that they just dropped the video. They made motherfuckers work for it.
Right. Yeah.
Like niggas had to do this was like Dark. You remember when Dark Knight came out and they was like revealing Heath Ledger's first image as the Joker, and you had to do all this
hmm
extra shit. It was that type of shit. And if you're gonna do all that, your game better be well on the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's the every like I feel like it's interesting because they really have their biggest franchises still to come. Like it's like a position where we haven't gotten a Zelda or a Mario in a while.
Right.
And both of them kind of coming off of, I mean, if you don't want to count Mass Effect's like trilogy, both of them coming off of interesting, either a lull or a divisive entry. Like Inquisition was the last Dragon Age game, but that was almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago, like next month. So yeah, I mean, it's time for y'all to kind of bounce back and pull out your strongest showings. And I think if we don't hear about it now, we got to hear about it next year, at least one of them.
I think I think we're gonna hear from at least one of them at the Game Awards. We're going to get like a vague release date, but I also think they're going to give us something in between to
Mm,
hold us until then, which is
mm.
where I'm going with this because I would love to see y'all just like drop a Jade Empire remake.
It would
Just
be so amazing.
just to hold us until the next game come. I mean, it's been a minute since anything y'all came out of there. But
Yeah.
that's like my hopeful one. Um I had thought about I went back and forth on whether or not this would happen, and I don't think it will because Spider-Man just dropped.
Mm.
But I would love to see a new Wolverine trailer.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's unlikely just because Spider-Man just dropped and it feels like they, coming off the burners of that. But also it's more likely because Spider-Man is now so-called out the way, right? Like
Right.
they can kind of that's what they need to be focusing on next. And that's the next thing we'll probably see out of Insomniac, barring the announcement of some like other game, a new match, Wrestling Clank or whatever the case. So I don't think it's impossible. I really don't. And man, just based off of how amazing Spider-Man 2 was, that game is going to be one of the best Wolverine related pieces of content we've ever seen. Like,
Oh my god, dog! I can't fucking wait.
high hopes, and I think they know that. Just looking at the way they did Craven for real, just kind of shows you how they can go outside the Spider-Man
Yeah,
bag. Even though Craven is clearly a Spider-Man villain, but you see the makings of a savage,
yeah.
like bestial villain in that. So yeah,
And I
absolutely.
mean, honestly, like Wolverine was my favorite superhero before I discovered Deadpool.
No man.
So I mean, I consumed hell all the Wolverine content I could. So to be able to play it and to play it right, I want he got to be short.
Yeah,
You know, he got
gotta
to
be
be
Canadian.
angry.
Yep.
Yeah, got to be Canadian. Got to be angry.
Hmm.
I mean, we've seen it is. I almost feel like what happened in Spider-Man 2 was them showing us they can do Wolverine. You know
Mm.
what scene I'm talking about as far as
Yeah,
violence.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that was them
Yes.
kind of going, nah, we can handle you know,
I had
we can
that
handle the
same
shit.
thought. I had that same thought. There's like a whole sequence.
Yeah.
If you played the game, you kind of know what we talking about, and that kind of opens up some other things too. But well, I want to have a spoiler cast for that game for real. There's some stuff to talk about, but
Yeah, there's.
but nah, that would be dope. Can I take a brief moment to just mention how dope X-Men comics are right now too? Like everything that they doing, man. Like
So fucking good.
please read like everything Jonathan Hickman has made as far as X-Men goes. If you're interested in those characters or comics at all, it's top tier shit. Like it's
It's
incredible.
been a while since it's been as good.
Yeah, yeah. Like every now and then I jump back into comics, and that got me back into it.
Yeah.
So, but moving on, I will throw out one that might happen, might not happen. Again, they like to kind of do their own thing. They also like to announce these games in Japan, but sometimes you'll see a Persona game at like an Xbox conference or something like that. So Persona 6 will be really, really interesting. We are nearing the time frame of that game being like imminent, like surprisingly
Oh
enough.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
damn.
like
6 years.
yeah, it's like I know they still completely eating off Persona 5, but when are they not? I don't know if y'all remember how Persona 3 and 4 were, but we got dancing games, fighting games, all type of games, completely just like, making allowing you to kind of delve into these characters as long as you want to. But that does not stop them from announcing the next title. So I think it's about that time.
Think From Software gonna pop up?
I
They
think,
seem to like to pop up like sometime like shortly after a new game drop.
yeah, and
I think it's
they
been
like
long enough
hitting
since
it.
AC6.
You know what I have on my list from them? The Elden Ring DLC. Because I thought we would get that before
Yeah.
now. Like I thought we would have gotten that this month, leading into the end of the year.
That
And
might be the
honestly,
show ender.
yeah, that could be a pretty big like surprise drop. But I feel like that's pretty likely. That's pretty high on the list. Unless we're not going to see it for a little minute, which I'll be surprised by. Let's
I
see.
think uh, I know it wouldn't happen because it's so close. But I would really, really like to see a Control sequel. Just a teaser trailer. Like right
Yeah,
after
that's
Alan Wake 2 with like
a
I feel
teaser.
because all that shit is like connected.
Yeah, and I didn't, we haven't beaten Alan Wake 2, so I don't know if anything happens in that game that implies anything about anything. But it would be really cool to see, like, it'll be the briefest of teasers. Like, it'll be a
Yeah.
logo, but
Yeah, but that's all you need.
that absolutely is. I would lose my mind. Yeah. All right, so I have three more that I kind of want to throw out there. A couple of them, actually, I would say all of them are pretty much long shots, but I'll go with the one that's the most imminent, and that is Ghost of Tsushima 2. Where's that game? Like, not to rush anybody. Like, take your time. But we know it's a thing, right? We know that Ghost 2 is a thing. So I'm hoping that we start to hear or see about it soon. All of this stuff I mentioned, and I really genuinely would be shocked if we don't hear about it within the next year, but Game Awards would be a nice start.
Ghost 2 is a show opener.
That
That's
would be a
that's
great show
like
opener.
you open the show with them
The
trees and
field,
shit
hell
flowing in the
yeah.
yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a show opener if it dropped.
Man, that's a killer too. Like that's you had a good show the first 5 minutes. Like, hey, you got
No,
your Ghost 2 announcement.
I'm locked in.
Yeah.
From that moment on, I'm locked in.
Man, if you call that, we're gonna clip this out straight up. And this is
Nigga.
yeah. Yeah, this is one of the moments. All right, so that's one of my last one. And the next one that's kind of a long shot. Since we talked about Metroid, I'm gonna just throw it out there for like the eighth consecutive year. Please, please. Metroid Prime 4 has to be real. I need it to be real. You just gave
No,
us the remaster.
no, you talking about some long shot? They not showing that at no Game Awards.
I mean,
They
you would,
Nintendo don't show up to the Game Awards.
man. I feel like they have before. I mean, I know Smash has announced characters, but I feel like they
That's
have on some
different. Yeah,
surprising shit. I would have to go back and look into like what they might have announced, but I really do feel like Nintendo has surprised us at the Game Awards before. And I'm just throwing it out there every chance I get. Like
oh,
it's my super long shot.
I would love to see it. You know that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it ain't happening though. It
dog,
ain't
that's a
happening.
February announcement.
That is a February.
That
Yeah,
that's that's the February announcement.
100%. For whatever reason, they've made that their special month. But yeah,
Yeah.
but it'll come out in November, and I'm with that.
Yep.
And my last one on my list, I would have to throw it to the. I would say Metroid Prime is a longer shot, but I don't believe Hollow Knight Silksong will be there. I ain't gonna say I don't think that the game is real.
I'm gonna say
But
I'm at the point now where I don't even think the motherfucker exists.
I don't like I know there's people putting in work on that and they keep reaffirming that it's real. And I know that they just trying to get it right, but man, what
Yeah,
a
man.
what
You
a
killing us. You killing us.
we need that. Like it's that and Hades 2 are like the two indie games that everybody has at the top of their list. And I'm willing to be patient on both, but I think Silk Song should show something, like just a little something. And I think it should be like a story trailer. We got a little gameplay trailer at one of the Xbox events like a year or two ago. We need to kind of see something story based to kind of see, okay, this is becoming a real thing. Like how Final Fantasy 7 remake got a bunch of in-engine shit when we
Yeah.
first heard about it, and it was like, okay, so you made something that plays and
Yeah.
it
So
looks
we
like
know
Final Fantasy.
it's
Yeah, but what does it feel like narratively? How do the characters act? So I think something like that, like showing some bosses from Silk Song and some of the stuff we're looking forward to the most, will go a long way.
all right. So my last one, and I think this is the most realistic of all of them. It's gonna be a game from John Romero Studio.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty
Cause
realistic.
yeah, because I mean, they not obviously they don't work on Doom anymore. Um, and Godfather of first person shooters, basically.
Right.
But his new studio, they've been hiring people left and right, trying to get people in. And they've been working on something for a minute. And that just seemed like something like you could just hear Jeff popping up. And our next game from legendary blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then boom. And they drop it. And I think that's the most realistic. Something's got to come out of there because I mean they've been working for a minute.
Yep, I can see that. It reminds me of I can't remember the name of it, but the game from like Ken Levine who made Bioshock. I forget the name of the game. It was very trippy looking. It got randomly announced at the Game
Oh
Awards.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Damn,
amazing. Yeah, it's on the tip of my
the
tongue.
fuck was that?
It is, it's kind of fucking me up. I just watched Pluto on Netflix, and that's an incredible series. And I can't get Pluto out of my fucking head for whatever reason. But that's not. It's something along those
It's,
like
like I know it's not
single,
that.
yeah, single word like something that sounds spacey. I don't know, but it looks awesome. Anyway, I think that would
Judas.
be yes. Okay, yes, Judas. Okay, it's something that
I
sounded.
I know why I didn't. I know why I didn't remember that because we off that Chris Jericho. We off that Chris Jericho narcotic.
I feel you, but no, I think that this could be an announcement kind of like that, where it's like, hey, this is what it is. Look, here you go. Like that announcement. As much as I struggle to remember the name, it did stand out in my memory. Like that was a pretty cool looking game. I just
Yeah,
need
no.
to
Now
see a
that I
little bit
saw the
more.
name, I remember exactly what it was, and I was hyped for that shit. But
Yeah,
yeah, we got to see something on that. I mean, that was what 2 years ago.
that would be awesome if we could get a little something from that. Like, yeah, yeah. But I don't want. I fear these games turning into vaporware. That's always my fear because I don't know if we're still in that
You talking,
era.
you talking about? I was like, you talking about aging yourself with a motherfucking term,
I know, right? I know, but
man.
nah, I feel these games kind of dwindling away and kind of development hell is the proper phrase. I think I don't
Yeah,
like development hell, so but I feel like that's a pretty good place to kind of wrap things up, man. Um, you guys should definitely let us know what you think might get announced at the Game Awards, and kind of go through the Game of the Years. If our conversation kind of sparked any thoughts on what you think should have won, let us know in the comments below. Make sure that you subscribe because we got episodes coming every single week, and like our videos. If you like the content, we definitely want to know what we're doing right because we want to make this a show for you guys. But until next time, man, I'm Kendall. This is Tony, and keep gaming.